We have an interesting situation now, and I'll allude to Harold James, who spoke at the last INET conference, has a book called The Creation and Destruction of Value. And what he posits, comparing 2008 to the 1931 financial crisis in Europe, is that when financiers are considered experts, wise men, allocators of resource, enforcers of discipline, and they go through a crisis and essentially suspend that discipline and take care of themselves, society no longer has a fulcrum of trust. It no longer has the nervous system that it's dependent upon. And in his book, he goes through how art changes, all the different manifestations of emotion change, and as he calls it, the creation and destruction of values, not just financial value. But the entire matrix of society becomes unhinged because of the special role that finance plays at the core of how we organize.
Well, and that sounds very interesting, and I think important that finance has come to play too important a part, and it's also it's detached from human judgment. And really, you come back to what we were talking about at the beginning, that the whole point I'm trying to make is that ultimately decisions are made by human beings with human judgment, and it's made by people with imagination and capacity and creativity, using all the skills we've got. And that is not a mechanical situation. And it shouldn't be a regret that economics can't be like physics, because as somebody I was reading, Alan Binder, I think it was saying that, you know, if chemists could, if molecules could talk, physicists and chemists would certainly interview them. The fact they don't is not because they wouldn't be interested. And I think there has to be a much greater interest in how human societies work by human beings interacting together. And this is an extremely important aspect, because the great things that, you know, the financiers who were great philanthropists and so on, or the people who did make judgments that brought societies forward, they made human judgments, and the system now has made it too easy to make what I call divided state judgments, judgments where you don't pay attention to the other side. I mean, one other thing that is quite interesting is that it's of course very old to say that finance is concerned with greed and fear. And I think this is quite a misunderstanding. It's the fear we've talked about, but greed is quite a complicated phenomenon, at least as a psychoanalyst would think about it. Because greed, or it depends how you use the word, but one way of using the word is that greed is simply wanting to take with no awareness of where it's coming from, or no concern for the other. So this is really in the primitive situation of a small baby and a mother. Well, you don't want a small baby to be worrying about the mother. Mother's big and able to do it, and she can feed the baby, and the baby comes along. But there comes a time in life when you have to be concerned about where things are coming from, and you don't just greedily eat up everything in sight, right? And this is exactly what brings in this difficult state I've called the integrated state of mind, is a development from being able to recognize that when you were greedy, you were ruthless, you did some destruction, you damaged the situation, and you need to try and make it better. So I think it's total nonsense, in a way, that finance should be about greed. I think it's about aspiration and wanting and desire, yes, but it's also, it shouldn't be cut off from the effects of your actions. And the fact is, we do have to be very worried at the way the financial system, I think, is distorting the allocation of resources in society.
Well, at a very simple level, in the United States, they say 3% of the population has made more than 100% of the gains since 1978. And they all put their money in hedge funds and private equity firms, who all have a 20% rate of return goal. The problem is, if 3% of the people with most of the wealth are all earning 20%, what's happening to the rest?
Exactly.
It's just math.
And sooner or later, that will not end happily.
And we talk about things in a Darwinistic survival of the fittest, like that wealth is a reflection of merit. But after a certain point, perhaps the ones who will make money on the dissolution of that system are the ones who do integrate this unawareness of the social consequences. It's hard to know. Yeah. Anyway, Dr. Tuckett, thank you for diagnosing the mind of the market with us today, and we look forward to seeing the further product of your research here that you're doing with INET.
Thank you, Rob.
Thank you.
Very nice to be with you.